Everyone tells you to heal, but no one really explains what healing actually is. They present it as something soft, something gentle, like peace, like calm, like finally having everything together. But real healing doesn't begin that way. Real healing often feels like confusion, like things no longer making sense, like losing parts of yourself you once depended on. And sometimes it feels like pain you can't even explain. So the real question becomes, are you healing or are you falling apart? Now slow down for a moment and really sit with this. What you're experiencing isn't random, it isn't a mistake, and it isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. For centuries, philosophers and spiritual thinkers have tried to explain this exact process. They all point to one uncomfortable truth. Before transformation can happen, something within you has to be undone. Carl Jung expressed it clearly when he said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And Friedrich Nietzsche echoed the same idea in a different way. One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. In other words, what feels like everything falling apart may actually be the beginning of awareness. And awareness changes everything. Because healing is not about becoming someone new. It's about removing everything that was never truly you in the first place. Over time, you learned how to adapt. You picked up expectations from the world around you. You formed habits to protect yourself. You built identities based on acceptance, survival, and sometimes even fear. Layer by layer, you became someone you needed to be, but not necessarily who you truly are. Now those layers are being questioned. Socrates believed that real wisdom begins the moment you start questioning what you think you know. And that's exactly what healing does. It interrupts your normal patterns and forces you to look deeper. It asks questions that don't have easy answers. Who are you without your pain? Who are you without needing approval? Who are you when you stop performing and just exist? These questions are not meant to comfort you. They are meant to reveal you. And that's why they feel so uncomfortable, because they strip away everything familiar, leaving you face to face with something raw and unfiltered. That feeling of discomfort isn't a sign that you're lost. It's a sign that you're getting closer to the truth. Healing is not a straight path. It doesn't move in a clean, predictable line where each day feels better than the last. Instead, it moves in cycles, subtle, repeating patterns that take you deeper into yourself each time. First comes awareness, that moment when something shifts inside you, when you begin to see things differently, your patterns, your reactions, your emotions. Things you once ignored suddenly become clear. And with that clarity comes discomfort. Because once you see something, you can't unsee it. Discomfort is where the real work begins. It's where you sit with emotions you once avoided, where you face truths you may not have been ready for before. It can feel heavy, confusing, even overwhelming at times. But this stage is not meant to break you. It's meant to open you. And as you stay with it, without running, without numbing, without pretending, it begins to shift. Slowly, something starts to loosen. The weight begins to lift. This is where release happens. Not all at once and not perfectly, but gradually, in moments, in realizations, in quiet decisions, to let go of what no longer serves you. And from that release comes growth, a new way of thinking, a new way of responding, a deeper sense of self that feels more grounded, more real, more aligned. But the process doesn't end there, because healing is layered. So the cycle begins again. Awareness, discomfort, release, growth. But each time, it takes you deeper than before, into parts of yourself you hadn't reached yet, into truths you weren't ready to face until now. This is why some days feel strong. You feel clear, centered, like you finally figured things out. And then other days come where it feels like you've gone backwards. Old emotions resurface, old thoughts return, and it can feel frustrating, like all your progress is slipping away. But you haven't gone backwards. You're just going deeper. You're meeting another layer, another part of yourself that is ready to be understood, felt, and released. So don't rush this process. Don't force yourself to feel okay just because you think you should be past it by now. Healing doesn't follow a deadline. It asks for presence. It asks for patience. It asks for honesty. Just stay with it, moment by moment, feeling by feeling, step by step. Because one day, without even realizing when it happened, you'll look back at this version of yourself, the one who felt confused, the one who questioned everything, the one who thought they were falling apart, and you'll see it clearly. Nothing was falling apart. Everything was being stripped away for a reason. Every layer that didn't belong, every belief that wasn't true, every version of yourself that was built out of survival instead of truth. It was all being removed, not to leave you empty, but to reveal who you were underneath it all. And in that realization, you won't just feel healed, you'll feel whole. Not because everything became perfect, but because, for the first time, you became real. Healing hurts because you're finally allowing yourself to feel. Not because you're creating new pain, but because you're becoming aware of pain that has always been there, quietly waiting beneath the surface. For so long, certain emotions were pushed aside, ignored, suppressed. You told yourself things like, "I'm fine," or "It doesn't matter," or "I'll deal with it later." And in those moments, it may have felt easier to move on than to sit with what was uncomfortable. But nothing truly disappears. Buddha taught that suffering doesn't come only from pain itself, but from our attachment to what we want and our avoidance of what we don't want to face. The more we resist certain emotions, the deeper they settle within us. The mind keeps record, the body keeps memory. So when healing begins, it doesn't create chaos, it reveals it. Old emotions rise, past experiences resurface. Feelings you thought were long gone suddenly return with intensity. And it can feel overwhelming, like everything is happening all at once. But this isn't happening to hurt you. It's happening to free you. Because what is finally felt can finally be released. And as this process continues, another difficult truth begins to unfold. You start to outgrow things. People you once felt deeply connected to may no longer align with who you're becoming. Habits that once felt normal may begin to feel heavy. Even versions of yourself, ways of thinking, reacting, and existing start to feel unfamiliar. And naturally, this feels like loss. It can feel like you're leaving parts of your life behind, like something important is slipping away. But this isn't loss, it's alignment. Lao Tzu captured this truth when he said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." Letting go isn't a failure. It isn't something going wrong. It's something reaching its natural end. Some connections were meant for a season. Some habits were created for survival, not for growth. Some versions of you existed to help you get through a certain phase of life. And now, that phase is complete. So what feels like losing something is actually making space for something more true, something more aligned, something closer to who you really are becoming. There's a stage in healing that almost no one prepares you for, the in-between. It's the space where everything feels uncertain, where you no longer recognize your old self, the habits, the mindset, the way you used to respond to life. It all feels distant now, but at the same time, you haven't fully stepped into who you're becoming either. You're not who you were, but you're not yet who you're meant to be. And in that space, life can feel quiet, unfamiliar, even empty. The things that once excited you don't hit the same. Conversations feel different. Your energy shifts. You may find yourself pulling back, needing more time alone, questioning things you never questioned before. And this is where doubt begins to creep in. You start wondering if something is wrong, if you've lost your way, if this feeling of disconnection means you're falling behind instead of moving forward. But this stage is not a mistake. It's a necessary part of the process, because real growth doesn't happen in noise. It doesn't happen when everything is full and busy and distracting. Growth needs space, space to reflect, space to release, space to rebuild. Rumi expressed this beautifully when he wrote, "Where there is ruin, there is hope for a treasure." What feels like ruin in your life right now, confusion, distance, stillness, is not the end of something meaningful. It's the clearing of what no longer belongs. The silence you're experiencing isn't emptiness, it's preparation. It's the space where clarity begins to form, where your thoughts start to realign, where you slowly begin to see yourself and your life without the noise that once distracted you. And yes, it can feel uncomfortable, because silence forces you to face yourself in a way that distraction never did. But within that silence, something important is happening. You're becoming aware. So if you feel lost, if you feel disconnected, if things don't make sense anymore, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're waking up to something deeper. And awareness, real awareness, changes everything. Because once you begin to see clearly, you can never go back to who you used to be.